sad.
Good morning.
My first time down here, actually.
It's all right.
Are you impressed?
Fairly impressed, yes. You know, I didn't even know we had this room.
We wouldn't have been meeting upstairs at that little bitty room.
Yeah, exactly. I actually thought it was sometime in my head when they said, "Oh, well, we met while you were gone, and we met on the bottom floor." I thought they actually meant like in the vending machine and stuff. I couldn't hear it. All right. So I think what I want to start with is we've been doing this. If y'all don't mind, Becky has a 4-page presentation to kind of go through the same thing.
Just to see if it kind of lines up with yours, and make sure we're just
Sure.
really on the same page. Go ahead, so I have us on session 11 right now. Yeah, so if you make it, you press the little slideshow icon down below.
Oh, she's running it.
She's running us. So, I have us on session 11. Our upcoming dates, July 27th, next Wednesday, August 4th, August 9th, and the 23rd.
The 27th was canceled.
It was it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And I show us the 10th, but I'm going to argue about it. I'll just go back and recount it.
Okay.
I'm
This
showing
is-
10 sessions, but it's 10 or 11. I'll go back and check.
Okay, well, this is exactly why this is a good idea.
No, that's okay. I'll take a look at it.
If you're saying 10 and we're saying 11, I think we're at it pass.
All right, let's go.
Saying 9, so.
No, it's all right.
All right.
Wait.
But yes, I forgot to tell you that 27th is canceled.
Okay,
Yes.
good to know, good to know. So agreed articles to date, I have 5, 6, whole articles, 5, 6, 12, 14, and 15. And these are ones that we've actually kind of gone back and forth on and we've worked on. And so far what I have is articles with no changes or minor. Article 1, preamble, which has a date that we need to fill in. Recognition, I have no changes. 22, notices, no changes. 23, term of the agreement, no changes. And 24, savings clause, no changes. And I can email this to y'all as well, so you don't have to print it twice. This is what we have on y'all's side of the table. Article 4, management rights. I believe that we have responded last to some language y'all wanted to include. 13, last session, we made our proposal on promotions. Believe 16 also still on y'all's side of the table. And I included 17, 18, 19, and 20, but I unbolded it because I know y'all are gonna talk about it today. So, and again, let me know if you disagree with this at all. Articles on the city side of the table, we have our 7 wages, special leave provisions, holidays, vacation, sick leave, ABL, and consolidation of public safety officers into APD. And I believe the merge document has little footnotes in there that we are gonna respond to these as part of our compensation package. So it's kind of one big bundle of it. And that's really it. So, I don't know if that lines up with y'all, but we can, just kind of wanted y'all to see from where we're seeing things at the moment, and if you have any issues, just let us know.
A15 should be a TA. We haven't signed anything, but we agreed
Yeah,
with
I
the
have
link.
that as an.
Okay, I might have missed it.
Yeah.
So can you go back to the agreed articles today? So we got 15 on there.
All right. We have a TA on 5, 6, 12, 14, 15, and that's it right now. And
And I think that there's a bunch of articles where there are little sections that we've agreed to, but the.
Yes, but not the article as a whole, yes.
Okay.
And I know that wages is on our side, and it's my apologies to you guys, I don't have a wage proposal for you. We were at the last tail end of collective bargaining with fire, and frankly, we didn't get to it, so, but I will have my recommendation into the manager, well before August the 4th, so hopefully we get a wage counter to you guys on that.
Is it back to me?
It's back to you.
All right. The city had given us proposals on Article 17, protected rights, Article 18, which is discipline, and they'd given us a proposal on Article 20, which is grievance. So what I've done is I've separated them. Normally, if there's not a lot of variation, I just kind of merge them, you kind of see, but since there were substantial changes and then it just become too confusing, so I separated it in the merged document, just says this is your proposal. And that's right now on 17 and 18, because they're fairly complicated and we have different proposals. So we'll lay out what we're putting on the table, and we recognize that you have a counter already on the table. Do you want to walk through it, or Jessica, do you want to walk through it?
Go ahead.
All right. All right. Basically, since the city has proposed to remove Article 16 oversight from the contract, its proposal reflects that in making different changes. Ours currently reflects that Article 16 will remain in the contract. Now, what's in Article 16, I don't know. We hadn't even prepared a proposal yet. There are some definitions that are added in. Anonymous complaints, it's in this section. The city had moved it over here. It doesn't change. It's whatever's in Article 16 would remain in the protected rights as a definition. And this is in Section 2, definitions under Article 17. In investigator definition, the current contract says investigator means an agent or employee of the department, and our proposal is investigator means a sworn employee or an independent investigator as defined in Article 16 oversight. So we think that current language is too broad. We're not sure what an agent is or any employee of the city. So our proposal, and this, we think this is probably, I would say, the current practice. I mean, it's a sworn investigator. It's investigating an officer for misconduct. So I'll go through it and then you can ask questions if you wish. If you'll go to Section 4G, it says when the police chief is notified that the panel, meaning Civilian Review Board panel, plans to review a case involving a critical incident, the officer and his representative shall be given an opportunity to meet with the internal affairs investigator or review witness statements and photographic or videotape evidence contained in the IE file for up to 8 hours. Now, we struck or an allegation of a civil rights violation because we think that the critical incident is defined, I believe, in the oversight language, and we don't need language that's just language. Just a broad, well, I was over 40 or something. If it's a critical incident, which is already defined, then this is the process. We think that other language, at the time was added, just creates conflict and unknown what it means. In I, they're just a typo. Let's see, I don't know if that's just a typo. Let's see, we struck the by.
Yeah, it's a typo.
It's just a
It's just a
typo.
typo.
It was investigations by unless, and should have just said unless. So I didn't usually mark, I marked it, but didn't mark a typo. All right, in section 5, we added a new C, and this is just language as far as the chief shall provide prior written notice to the association of any scheduled DRH, disciplinary review hearing, so that the association may provide guidance and representation to the subject officer. It's just a notice requirement. All right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I can wait for my
I
question.
can give you a little context on that.
Go ahead, Jessica.
So, it's my understanding that there are instances in which officers are receiving discipline, whether it's a written reprimand, an oral reprimand, and they don't necessarily even understand that they are meeting with their chain of command for disciplinary purposes. It's basically just like, hey, you did this, sign this, here's your written. And really, they should be able to have representation for any type of discipline, so.
I think
so
beyond that,
that's-
yeah, I think beyond that, there's a belief within some command staff at the police department that if I'm only going to issue a reprimand, because you cannot arbitrate a reprimand, that you have no rights to representation. And it's something that we've run into more than once. We've also run into situations with people who are in a probationary status, being called in for discipline up to and including termination. And I was told by one lieutenant that this person has no rights. And I'm like, oh, no, they're a sworn police officer. They're a member of the bargaining unit. They have all the rights conveyed to them through the contract. But you are correct that they cannot arbitrate to get their job back, but they have all the rights to representation as any other officer. And so I don't know that it's being done maliciously, but I think that there's some lack of clarification there that we could help people to point to something and say, hey, like, just as a matter of practice, if you're going to do this, then give us notice. That way we can just go be there to represent and help these folks through these situations.
So when you say an officer on probation, you mean not a cadet?
Correct.
Not a
Police
cadet,
officer.
correct. We had one last week and had the same situation.
Okay.
He was just called in to be terminated. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago.
All right.
You're fired.
On section 9, the current language in this for scheduling of an indefinite suspension appeal. Currently, it said the parties will make a good faith effort, which, that's nice, but these really usually have more definitive timelines. To schedule an appeal of an indefinite within 90 to 100 days after the date the officer was indefinitely suspended. We changed that to 180 days. So, and then we have the ability of the parties to extend past that, which the current contract really didn't set that out. So I don't know if this is a substantive change. Within 180 days, schedule, and then if the parties say, look, we need more time, then we can agree to extend. So it's just setting the hearing as far as I understand.
Yeah, I chuckle a little bit because we've been working on this section probably for well over a decade. I think both sides trying to see what we can do to get the hearings done sooner, because it's, and we've been working on this language for a while, but we'll take a look at it and talk to our lawyers who arbitrated, see if they have suggestions for us too. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. You go ahead with any questions you have over 17.
I don't think I have any more. Do you guys have any?
I guess the only question, the definition of protected complaint is new and it will be part of 16.
That should have been changed to anonymous complainant.
Oh, anonymous, okay.
That's what I kind of figured when
Oh.
you said it's in there, but it's not.
I
written.
thought I sent a note on it. My lawyer caught it,
Yeah.
but I'd already sent it out, so I should have made, yeah. She,
Oh, got it.
He's my personal attorney. You have anything to say to me, say it. All right, yeah, it's anonymous complaint, which is the protected one. All right, anything else on that?
I don't think so.
All right, all right.
Ron, real quick,
Yes, sir, go ahead. No, go ahead.
On, back up to section 2, the definitions, where we struck an agent of an investigator. We have a pending grievance that we would love to solve at the table. Arbitration, looking at our spreadsheet, it looks like arbitration was initiated back in November of 2020, so this thing's just been hanging out there for a bit. But we had at least 2 situations where city HR was called in to run internal affairs investigations. And at least in one of those situations, operationally, it's messy because we had city HR trying to run an interview with one set of rules, internal affairs trying to co-run the interview with a different set of rules, and it got messy. We, as an association, we had 2 of them at the time, pretty close back to back, that we filed a grievance on and initiated arbitration on. But if that's something that the city wants to talk about and address, if we can settle those things here and have that conversation, we are very much open to dealing with, well, I see 2, 4. I see 9 open grievances on our tracker. That if we can just deal with those things, I think it would benefit both sides.
So 2 of those you just mentioned relate to this article. Do the other 7, I'm guessing a whole bunch of them are Article 16 related, but I don't know.
Yep. There's, I show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 related to Article 16. There's 1, I think it's 5. There's 1 relating to union affiliation, or 2 related to union affiliation. And then 1 relating to payout of sick time upon separation from the public.
All right.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go to A18. And on our proposal, there's a couple of these pronoun changes. We have no problem with all of those. And so I just left them in our proposal. This is something we're doing in all the contracts to get on the same page with the use of pronouns. All right. 18 is disciplinary actions, demotions, and appeals.
Hold on, Ron.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So there, in section 1, 2, and 3, there's some defining calendar, changing his or her to they and their. That's all that's in those sections. So actually, if you will go to, well, in section 12, it's the same thing, just putting some calendar days. All the way. All right, the first, actually, subsidy change in ours is section 16, which is mediation. Do you want?
Yeah, so under section A, we added in there, or any mediation shall be an option offered to the complainant at the time the initial complaint is filed, or any other time during the investigatory process in which the IAD lieutenant deems appropriate for minor nature complaints such as rudeness. And so we added that because the way the process is written now, the only time that the mediation can be offered is at the very beginning, when the OPO takes the complaint. And so, if it's not offered at that point, we don't have a remedy to offer it if, throughout an investigation, it's just like a rudeness complaint or something, and the other party, the complaining party, just wants to be heard. And so we just want to have the ability for the lieutenant to be able to offer that at any time during the process, so that, that might solve the issue for the complainant, that sort of thing.
And in terms of best practices for basically, trust building within the community with civilian oversight, working with an IAD, mediation is a super effective process for these minor complaints. And it allows a community member to have their voice heard, and for that officer ideally to learn from that situation rather than it just be investigatory in nature. It can be a moment of community connection that they wouldn't otherwise have. And DOJ and cops and all the kind of expert bodies on these concepts really push mediation as something we should be using going forward as much as possible.
As well as the Kroll report specifically talked about mediation being a process that should be applied as best practices.
All right. And that's all that we've proposed on 18.
All right.
All right. If you go to A19,
Well, sorry, Ron, hold on. Anybody else have questions on 18?
No.
Okay.
all right. A19 is assignment changes. And we've got two substantive changes. Section 2. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Section 2B, the department shall post all assignment vacancies except for those vacancies the chief or their designee intended to leave vacant. To ensure equitable opportunity for all officers, the department shall utilize a standardized transfer process approved by the chief for all non-patrol officer positions. And then at the end, we added an F, which says, within 60 calendar days of the execution of this agreement, the chief shall approve and incorporate into general orders a standardized transfer process for all non-patrol officer positions to include all positions in specialized units, corporal detective positions, sergeant positions, and lieutenant positions. Basically, the idea is that for any positions that are open, people should be given an equitable chance to apply for those positions. And there should be a standardized process of transfer instead of what we're currently doing right now, which is there's a pilot program for transfers that may or may not be used. There's the bucket system for transfers, and it's just up to, whatever direction the wind is blowing that day. And it's creating it's creating issues, as far as equity. So that's our proposal.
And if I remember correctly, there is a committee that has established a standardized transfer process that has been presented to the
It's sitting on
command
the
staff and
chief's
is
desk.
sitting in a policy review committee that seems to be a black hole at the moment. So, just from a patrol officer perspective, it kind of talks to a lot of people that will be moving to specialized units going forward and are looking to promote. This process is something that everybody wants.
I didn't put the rest of the article in there because we didn't make any further changes in our proposal. So, I mean, it's in the merged draft. That's all we changed. We still need a discussion about these special events, and we'll do something by the next meeting to address that.
Devin, that's section 2 of Article 19. I think we sent it over yesterday, initiating arbitration on that. That's something I had previously set at the table that we were going to push forward, but obviously we're very open to just having a discussion and figure out how we do that moving forward. So Chief should have received that email yesterday, along with legal, pushing it forward, but again, very, very, very open to solving these issues at the table, and figuring out what's the process by which we can mutually agree to not have grievances in the future.
Okay.
All right, you ready? All right. Article 20 is the grievance procedure. I left this merged, so the red shows the city's language and the blue is ours. But on section 3, this is really what happens when a grievance is going through the system and there's a failure to respond by the employer. The city proposed that then the association will just move to the next step. They don't meet the timeline. We're okay with that. So inside of this, we can agree on that language by the city. It's in section 3, timelines. If you go to section 5, that has to do with election of remedies. And the city had proposed, it said it is specifically and expressly understood that the filing of a grievance under this article, it said, which has as its last step binding arbitration, constitutes an election of remedies. And the city had proposed that that be by the association, which is really what the practice is. We're okay with the city's language on that. I think we've already stated that we're not okay with the rest of the city's proposal. We stated our reasons. If you want us to restate those, I'll be glad to do that. But I think we laid that out in a prior session.
Was it the last session?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Was it?
or the session before that.
Yes, too.
Yeah,
Last time we were in here.
Yeah, the last time.
The last time we were in here.
Yeah.
Well,
You want to hear it?
yeah, the video from last session has not made it to my Netflix queue yet, so if you can
It's okay.
tell me about it, that'd be awesome.
All right. All right. What the city has proposed in the grievance system is basically a workaround the current process based upon the union prevailing in a grievance over the a scope and authority of the monitor. So it's our, when looking at this, what the city has proposed is, and this is my interpretation, not your words, is that the city wants to have the ability to get to the courthouse on about 100% of these grievances. This is basically what it does. It changes the paradigm. There's already long-established law about moving from an administrative hearing and taking something up to the courts. Roughly, fraud, collusion exceeds jurisdiction. It's intended to be difficult. And because the court doesn't want to rehear these things when you both agreed on someone who could hear it. So we mutually agree on the arbitrator. We strike, we come up with a neutral, these are professionals. They look at it and they make a ruling. Well, in any process, you're going to win some and lose some, and that's what happens. So we don't want a system where you've rewritten the rules to giving yourself ability to get to the courthouse. Whether you prevail or not is not the question. You cannot, if you change it, you're going to go to the courthouse. Every time you don't like a ruling, I won't say you have unlimited funds, but you have a lot of taxpayer money to waste on taking these cases up. We don't want them up. If we lose, we're okay, that's it. Arbitrator rule, we'll live with it. Sometimes the grievance is valid, sometimes it's not. We're okay with that process, but we can't take one grievance that the city's unhappy with and change the way we do business for 25 years merely because you didn't like you lost. Because all the things of which you don't like, well, we're bargaining over them now. So, so all of those issues about the scope and authority of oversight, they're negotiable, clearly. We're prepared to bargain over those things, but we're not prepared to change the rules of the game over one arbitration. So that's our simple answer.
All right.
And that's it. That's all I have. I mean, we can go through any other section you wish, but that's all we had for today, which we had promised you a response, and we wanted to get that to you today.
I can actually, didn't we add the lieutenant language? Or was that
I don't
under?
think we did it yet.
Huh?
We haven't done that
We- I don't think I.
yet. Special events.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah,
me
we're
look.
gonna do it before you're done.
Just give me a second.
So-
Let me
But we
look.
can talk about the concept,
Yeah,
We saw it.
basically, under Article 19, under special events. So there's a couple of things, I'm gonna address one of them.
We. It may be in here.
Yeah,
Let me
no,
look.
I'm not talking about that portion of it. It's
Okay.
adding a sentence in there. So as it stands now, we have special events that require lieutenants to be present for span of control. And what we wanted to add in there was the ability for a lieutenant to work overtime under the calculated rate, whatever that is, on reimbursed events. We only have one lieutenant in the special events unit. And we have multiple things going on at times where we actually need another lieutenant to come in for span of control. And it would only be for reimbursed events. And another issue is that on those reimbursed events, the idea that you're using, like if you shift another lieutenant over to work that, you're paying for that with taxpayer dollars. And so if it's a reimbursed event, and we are required to have the span of control, it needs to be where the reimbursed event also pays for that lieutenant. the vendors.
Okay,
We'll put that in our proposal for August. It just hadn't worked through our internal
Yeah.
process yet.
that's fine. I think I understand the issue.
Okay.
Yeah, we are kind of short on staff. So.
Do we have any other questions? All right. Well, I think, like I said, we will look at these. We'll come back on the 4th with some language here too. I know some of these are just, we're working on certain parts of it and not the whole thing. Other ones we're kind of working on the whole thing, but we're making progress either way. So we'll come back with some counter language and go through what we think of your language. And I hope to have a wage proposal to you also for the 4th. But as far as today goes, I think we're going to spend the rest of the day kind of reviewing what you've proposed to us. I'm not sure I don't think anything's going to come up where we have to meet again to get a question answered
Okay.
jointly. So, what are your thoughts?
No, I'm fine with that. I mean, we're both waiting on the city's economic counter, and you're waiting on our proposal on oversight, and we'll plan to have we hope to have all of those things ready by August 4th, or one of the 3 meetings we have in August, so that hopefully everything is on the table. Maybe we can clear out some other things and get down to probably the larger issues, but we still are internally working on those things, and so I think that's about all. We'll just work it with our team the rest of the day.
Okay.
All right, well, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.